And so to discuss the issue, we're joined by international affairs analyst Romain Le Quiniou. Good evening.
Good evening.
So, how important is this visit for the French president? What is he aiming to achieve in Berlin?
Yes, so this is an important official visit, as you said. It's the first state visit since 2000 with Jacques Chirac. So it's important, but we should not overestimate the importance of this visit. It's a visit which is mostly ceremonial, symbolical, because it's a state one. And we have to say that in the middle of a crisis, we could say, in the Franco-German relationship, what is being done is basically to show to European partners, to show to German, French public that the relation is not that bad. It's continuing to function, it's still operational. So I think this is the first goal of this meeting. But we should also say that it has a political dimension, especially that President Macron will go to Dresden tomorrow and we'll have a talk on the future of democracy. And this is relevant first because it's the first visit in Eastern Germany of a French president since 1989 and François Mitterrand. And the second dimension is that, of course, as you said, it's 2 weeks before the European elections. And the talk will, of course, focus on the rise of extremism in Germany, in France, and in all of Europe. And finally, I think that even if it's not that important when it comes to the bilateral cooperation, still there will be a council of ministers where important topics between the French and the German side will be discussed, and in particular the topics that, as you know, have been putting this relationship in a difficult time.
Right, Emmanuel Macron claims that German-French relations are as strong as ever, but you say they're experiencing some turbulences. Why so?
I think it's not so new. I would say that the relationship between France and Germany has been complicated over the past few years, and there's been an acceleration of these problems after the start of the full-scale invasion of Ukraine by Russia. I think that we can see it with different factors, different reasons. I think that the first is a difficult relationship between President Macron and Chancellor Scholz. That's a fact. But there is also a lot of different problems when it comes to the vision of the French side and the vision of the German side when it comes to European challenges. Here I can mention defense and security. I think that there is not the same declarations when it comes to the support to Ukraine. We saw it recently, but there is also a different understanding on how we should strengthen our defense security in Europe. And here I think that there is this proposal, for example, from Germany of anti-missile shield that is not really the first thought of the French side. We can talk also about the economy, I believe. This is one of the important topics that should be discussed, and especially the competitivity dimension of economy. And here I think that France, for example, is defending the evolution of European rules, and especially this opportunity of a difficult time to make mutual debt a factor in Europe in the next few years, in particular to finance environmental as well as digital transitions. But it's not really the same page in Germany. And here we can also talk about the differences between the two countries when it comes to the relationship with China, and in particular when it comes to the electric vehicles. We have also different views on energy, for example, and in particular when it comes to civil nuclear technology. And finally, I guess that there is an important topic also that should be discussed, and it's about the future of EU institutions, in particular when it comes to enlargement. And I have to remind that the past state visit of a French president, so in 2000 by President Jacques Chirac, was already at a time where the countries at the European Union, in the European Union, were discussing basically how to, modernize, change, make our institutions evolve in a context of European enlargement. So I think that there's different topics that will be discussed, and can explain also what are the current tensions between Paris and Berlin. And I would say that generally we should not forget also that this relation is at a specific time, a time after the full-scale invasion of Ukraine by Russia. and a sense of vacuum of leadership in Europe. And there is a kind of fight, even if we don't want to put it as a fight. It's not a fight, it's a competition, but there is indeed a competition of leadership, of European leadership between Paris and Berlin. And these kind of meetings are made to limit the scale of these tensions.
Right, to limit the damage. Right, but I'd like to refer to this European Sky Shield initiative you mentioned earlier. It's not like Palais d'Elysée opposes the project totally. It's that, I guess, French would rather prefer it to be produced in Europe than in the US, as Germans would like it to be. Is that the case?
Well, I think you're right mentioning that Paris is not close to this idea, and I think that President Macron said it a few weeks ago, right? But I think that when it comes to defense and security, there are two main differences between Paris and Berlin. The first one is on the technical level, as you said. This is a difference between the two countries when it comes who is going to produce defense thing, and it's not just about the anti-missile shield. It's about all of the development of the defense industry, I would say. And there is a very different ambition and a very different view between Paris and Berlin. But there is also a different understanding when it comes to a more general aspect or a more general level, and it comes specifically on the future of defense and security in Europe. And I think that Paris has been seen, especially from Warsaw and Central European countries, as a controversial actor when it comes to defense and security, because France has been defending a kind of autonomization from NATO when it comes to security. That was a few years ago. I think that now President Macron and France is very clear on that. We are not going to put our security, our European security, out of NATO. This is not a question. What we need to do is more to reinforce, to strengthen the European pillar within NATO. And it can have several forms, and I think that President Macron has been clear over the past few weeks. It can be anti-missile shield. It should be also common thinking when it comes to development of capacities of long-range missiles, high precision one. It can be also a talk on how to discuss nuclear dissuasion, because France is the last country in the European Union being able to have nuclear capacities. And I think that it's about this. It's about convergence of the view when it comes to the strengthening of the European Union within NATO, of our security. And here, despite differences, tensions sometimes, I think that France and Germany are also cooperating on different things. I would like to mention the project of European tank for the moment. Of course, problem exists, but there is a cooperation, and there is also a willingness to enlarge, and not just to talk between France and Germany, but also to include Poland sometimes, for example, in the Weimar format.
Right. You're absolutely right. Now, German President Steinmeier stated that, quote, "We need an alliance of democrats in Europe." So, as we already agreed, this trip is also to discuss the future shape of Europe. Do you think that two gentlemen will discuss future alliances in the European Parliament? Because polls clearly show us that it will be EPP along with Socialists and Democrats ruling Europe again. So, do you think that there's some trade going on in Berlin right now?
Well, I think that we should, we should be realistic 2 weeks before important European elections. Of course, the future of European politics, at least in Brussels, will be discussed. And what we see is that Scholz is representing the SD, the Social and Democratic political party in the European Union. Macron is representing Renew, and I mean ALDE to some extent also, the centrists, the liberals. So these two parties will have a role when it comes to the future of European politics, together, of course, with the biggest party, the European People's Party. Now, we don't really know what will happen. What we know is that there should be a continuity. We know that there is a rise of far-right parties, nationalist parties, but we have to see that, and according to the numbers, and despite this rise, still, we will have a limited change, I believe, and there will be continuity. And now it will be also about the negotiations of this future alliance in the European Parliament, and also, and I think it's even more important for presidents like Macron, is about the future roles, the future positions. Who will be at the head of the European Commission? Will
Precisely, that's the case. That's the case, because one thing is the European Parliament, but what's really a hot topic right now is the future shape of the European Commission. So I guess there are already some bargains going on, right?
Absolutely, and I think that
and Romain, can we already talk about names?
Well, I think that von der Leyen, for the moment, is still the favorite, even if some people are talking about different names. The rumor has been saying that Macron would support von der Leyen, and then maybe would like another people, maybe. The name of Mario Draghi has been quoted, but there is also a reality. And the thing is that President Macron and his allies in France, his Renaissance Party, will perform quite logically really poorly in the next few weeks. And that might limit the capacity and the ability of President Macron to be at the center of the negotiations the same way he was a few years ago in 2019. What we know at the moment is that von der Leyen is still in top position. We know also that there are some rumors regarding, the presence of trusted personalities from Macron entourage when it comes to the potential future cabinet of Mrs. von der Leyen. So as of now, we really don't know, and I guess that it's too early to predict anything. What we know is that we will have mostly continuity, but we cannot avoid some surprises. And it's the case for the future alliance, and it's the case for the reconduction or not of Mrs. von der Leyen.
Absolutely. So, international affairs analyst Romain Le Quiniou was our guest tonight. Thank you very much for your insight. It was a pleasure.